Sponsor an orphan, and you'll help support a vulnerable child to have the education they've always dreamed of, so they can build a brighter future. You'll be feeding a hungry stomach and a hungry mind with knowledge that will last them a lifetime. That's the power of an education. Sponsor an orphan now with Islamic Relief.
Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everybody. How you doing? This is your brother Preacher Moss. For everybody that's out there, please. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Eid Kareem. I hope that everybody's having a wonderful Eid, spending with time with family, friends, and just connecting with the community. You know, we come out of this great challenge, if you will, this communal initiative, if you will, of fasting, but also reading Quran, also getting closer to our Lord, also, you know, going through a bit of a self-purge. How can we get better? 2%, 3% better. How can we make ourselves better, our families better, our environments better, our situations better, if you will? So shout out to everybody that's celebrating. Today I had to take it a little bit easy, so I did not make it to eat prayers. I decided to err on the side of caution, get myself some rest, get myself a little bit of sleep. But definitely saw some great khutbahs online that were awesome, that really just touched my heart. And I want to make sure that everybody understands that, this is a very special time. And inshallah, the whole idea is that we're able to take this thing and be able to address some of the things that we're seeing in our communities, some of the things that we're seeing in our households and our families, and being able to move this thing forward. So without further ado, brothers and sisters, I want to say thank you again for your support for the Ramadan 30 for 30. I want to give a shout out, of course, to our sponsor, Islamic Relief USA, also other sponsors, which would be BeFinanciallyIndependent.com, Convenient Urgent Care, UsHub.tv, and we have some couple of them. Shout out, of course, to Band Islamic Graduate School as well. So listen, let's talk about the topic today. Can we throw our overlay up? I want to see how that looks. This is the time I took the overlay off. Oh, she don't know how to put it. There we go. We are overlaid back. I'm in love with the overlay. So listen, couple things we talked about, the transition of the show, which is we are going to be moving back to our format of Monday through Thursdays with one Saturday spotlight per month. We're going to be doing that. But we're also going to be transitioning, also being able to talk a little bit more about community issues, world events, world scenarios, things that are happening in this whole wellspring of Eid. I actually watched a video of Muslims at the Eid al-Fitr celebration at the White House. Some of you guys know my situation. I actually got invited to the White House, but due to my illness, I wasn't able to travel. And, I had some issues about whether I would go, even if I were healthy, largely because I do have some philosophical disagreements with President Biden. You've heard some of them going all the way back to Anita Hill. But one of the things that really did disturb me and has been something that's been on my heart is like, what has happened to the agenda for people of color? When I asked the question, what is happening to the agenda for people of color, there are two aspects you have to look at. Number one, what is the government aspect of advocating for us? What does that look like? And number two, what does our own advocacy look like, brothers and sisters? Because I have to say, from George Floyd to now, we have definitely fallen off damn near every clip that you could put. The reason is I feel as though, and I will say this going into a larger discussion, after we bring in a lovely shout out to your family, the fact of the matter is, brothers and sisters, that we've gotten soft, that we become pacified by so many of the other things that we are seeing. I looked at the juxtaposition of how the Black family looks and how actual current events look. Just the juxtaposition of families and how we are compared, if you will, the commercials, if you will, the statistics, if you will. And when I say the stacking, if you will, of Black image and Black intelligentsia, if you will, the intellectual capacity that we have for so many years has somehow gone astray. Literally, I can go through Instagram and find the demise of Black intelligent thought on Instagram, whereby it is tied up into these snippets, if you will, of incomplete thoughts, snippets, if you will, of celebrating, in some regards, drug use, snippets, if you will, of talking about items that have no legs. When I talk about items that have no legs, what I'm talking about is a very, very closed in conversation that you know at the end, it ain't going to go nowhere. If you have 4 or 5 people in the circle talking about being broke and nobody's talking about going to get a job, it's going to be a very closed in conversation. If you have 7 people at the bottom of a pool drowning, nobody talks about swimming to the top. It's going to be a very closed conversation. And that, brothers and sisters, is something that has been plaguing us for the last 3.5 years. The years out of Trump were the space where we were supposed to have organic, very, very organic activism in the context of what is the Black need, what is the Black agenda. Clearly, brothers and sisters, we're not there yet. And when I say clearly, I can look at the fact that we're going into a midterm election, and by all accounts, the Democrats are going to get slaughtered. And the reason they're going to get slaughtered is because the people who helped get them there in the first place are not connected to the struggle and some of the subject matter that they're talking to. Whereby we can talk about Ukraine, whereby we can talk about Russia, but we can't talk about Houston. We can't talk about DC. We can't talk about Detroit. We can't talk about LA and Atlanta and the organic problems and issues that we've been facing over and over and over and over again. We are not fools, brothers and sisters, but we are easily fooled believing and trusting in people who have not delivered anything to us for a very long time. No knock on Joe Biden. I don't know him. I can't say anything. I didn't go to the White House. But let me tell you this, though. Policies speak louder than words. Clearly, we had a scenario where there was anti-hate against Asians. I have no problem. Protect our Asian brothers and sisters. Here's my problem. The expediency of law that made it through Congress and the Senate to protect the Asian brothers and sisters. And we couldn't even get a bill, brothers and sisters, that outlawed lynching. We were still talking about getting an anti-lynching bill through Congress and through the Senate, while this whole idea of anti-Asian hate crime bills zoomed through. Now, I'm going to take a break. We're going to come back. Welcome to the Shout Out Show. We're shaking off a little bit of the Ramadan 30 for 30. We're going to get to some serious issues here. And you can see the show. This is a Shout Out Show with Preacher Miles featuring Sister Satana. She don't want to be Satana Whitfield. We're going to call her Sister Satana. We're going to be back. Start the show. Don't move. We'll be right back. All right, so let me get into it. I want to make sure that we are introducing the most important aspect of the Shout Out Show, which is the Shout Out Show family, the Shout Out Show soldiers. Let's go ahead and get them in here before we start talking about what happened to the agenda of people of color. We want to give a shout out to Sister Ree, always down for the SOS. What's going on, Sister Ree? Hope you are doing well. Hope Brother Derek is doing well out in Oklahoma, and Brother Juwan is doing well in his pursuit. Serving the community, if you will, doing great things. Thank you so much for joining us on the platform. Next up, Brother Altaf Rashid. Wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Eid Kareem, my brother. How you doing? He said, Eid Mubarak, SOS family. Yes, brother, we appreciate you. Hopefully that jerk chicken went down well, man. I need a report on the jerk chicken. I've had some pretty good jerk chicken in Toronto, brother, and I've had some Houston, Texas, DC. You know, Toronto, they got something to brag about there. I like this stuff. But thank you so much for joining us on the platform. Next up, after our Canadian ambassador, Brother Eric, wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Kareem, my brother. How you doing, man? Thanks so much for joining us. Brother Eric, make sure you send your information into permissible laughter at gmail.com, brother. We want to make sure that we feed you. Yesterday was our iftar show. Got to make sure that we feed our brothers and sisters here on the show. Now, don't make me a liar. All right, man. Good to see you on the platform. Next up, Khan Akram, all the way from the UK. How you doing, brother? Eid Mubarak to you. And shouting out to the SOS family, man. I hope you're doing well. Thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate you. Much love, man. And Eid Mubarak to our London family, always checking in. I appreciate you all. Tune in, man. And if you see something that you like or something you want to sound off on, you know you're part of the Shout Out Show, the SOS family. Jump on in the conversation. Next up, and we have the proprietor of BeFinanciallyIndependent.com, Ms. Maxine B. Kate Esquire. She's talking about what a timely and poignant topic. Absolutely. Let me explain a little bit about Mary B. Moss and Maxine B. Kate. See, they were at Howard University, you know, during the time of the 60s when you had Malcolm, you had Martin, and they were there when they did the March on Washington. So the advocacy is a little bit different, a little bit nuanced in the context of where it was organically and where it is now. I can literally tell you from just a comment that our elders are disappointed. All right, next up. Mama San. She said, seems like those Democrats on top have been forgotten, but they definitely been forgotten. Indeed. Shout out to you, Miss Eleanor, too. I heard you had a good conversation with Little Miss as well. All right, next up. What's going on, Brother Bilal Salahuddin from Chicago? What's going on, beloved? Eid Mubarak, man. Hope all is well with you and the Queen. Thank you so much for tuning in, brother. We appreciate your support on the Shout Out Show. Checking in from Chicago, man. Much love. Safe travels on the way back, too, as well. And my beloved brother, Mark Allen, candidate better known as Jelani Locks. What's going on, Mark? I hope everything is well, man. Wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Kareem, to you, my brother. Thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate you, and I know I owe you a dinner as well because you are a Shout Out Show regular. So go to permissible laughter at gmail.com and put your information in so we can make sure that we get a dinner for you. Maybe a little bit late, but we're going to get it for you. We appreciate you. Shout out to the Queen Tina as well. Next up. Okay, Eid Mubarak SOS family. We appreciate you, Mama Son. Thank you so much. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, Khan Akram, it's me, Rabina. You know you can't come in like that. I know Rabina's sister. Don't even come in like that. Now you have demonstrated to me that you are on parole from Facebook jail, assuming false passports, false identity on the Shout Out Show. Well, hey, you know, we're always happy to have you, and put your name in the go to permissible laughter at gmail.com because I want to make sure we send you a little something for your iftar too. Okay, sister? We want to make sure that you are not coming in here under illegal pretenses. And you come in fired. The Democrats are too busy with the LGBTQ and A rights. African Americans need to create their own political parties, subscribing neither to Republican or Democrat. We're gonna holler at that. I've talked about that. So, Sister Rabina, don't think that I have not discussed this. I've discussed this at length. All right, next up. All right, we got Brother Mark. Now, Mark, I'm gonna call on you. Mark is a political strategist down in Virginia, organizing Democrats down in Virginia. Brilliant cat, entrepreneur. I mean, he does a lot of things. He's done music. He's done, of course, working with the government contractor, entrepreneur. Great dude. But this space that we're talking about is political. Mark, I've started out what happened to the agenda of people of color. I started out by telling people that I had an invite to the Eid at the White House. And due to health reasons, I wasn't able to go. I said, but there were some philosophical issues that were standing in the way as well, because I just kind of felt like I don't want to go and just be up in a space where I know that in my heart things didn't feel right. I did not feel like the African American agenda, the people of color agenda, the poor folks agenda has been really paid attention to. And it does infuriate me in some regards because we can turn attention to everyone else's tragedy. Everyone else's tragedy. We can look at Afghanistan. We can look at Ukraine. We can look at Russia, and we can apply these high quotients of attention, value, and of course financial support. I'm not saying that these things are not important. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, though, domestically, we have issues that have been long going for quite a long time, and it does bother me that we can just turn on a switch. We can turn on a switch, and this has been an issue that's been long going, that people, African Americans, we are afterthoughts in terms of the political strategies, because people either think, number one, they're going to get our vote because we have a legacy of voting in a particular way, or number two, we're not an educated electorate, so we can be told anything. We can be told anything. We can be dissuaded. And this was part and parcel of course, the 2016 election, when people were telling Black folk, don't vote. Your vote does not count. And so we had this fraction, we had this splintering, if you will, that led us to a place we are right now, whereby here we are in 2022, about to go into the midterms, and we're still having arguments about voting rights. We're still having to watch people physically and boldly, without any impunity, talk about how they are going to limit as much as they can the ability of African Americans, Latinos, and the poor to vote. I don't understand why that keeps persisting. I don't understand why we're sitting around here talking like it's not happening. Like, yeah, I do have a problem going to break bread when I know that backs are being broken in returns of policy and laws that are coming down the pipe for the next couple of years. So that's the way I feel. And let me add this too. See, years ago, I would talk this way. And I didn't really look at the policies that were being put out in terms of the candidates. Literally, it's hard to decipher. Malcolm X had something. He said something that's really powerful in the context of when he was talking about Palestine and Israel. And he said, you cannot let it be to a point where people undermine your intelligence when you are under attack. Let me say it again. People undermine your intelligence when you're under attack. The word they use now is gaslighting. Like if somebody punches you in your arm, you punch him in your arm. You go, no, you did. Nobody punched you in your arm. You punched you in your arm. You think somebody punched you in your arm. It's like the old Jedi mind trick. But what I see now is that in some regards, the infrastructure, if you will, has less and less and less to do with the welfare of African Americans and people of color. And we become more of a spectator to it. It's almost like, I got you, thank you. It's almost like when we start talking about George Floyd, I'm like, was George Floyd a gimme? Like, if we give you George Floyd, we can go ahead and handle all this other business. Now, I know I'm running over. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back here on the ShOUT Show talking about what happened to the agenda for people of color. Don't move. We'll be right back. Hey, babies. Welcome to Radio WCUC, Convenient Urgent Care, home of the smart patient. This is DJ What It Do. You know what time it is. It's the top of the hour, and the request lines are open. You know what you want to hear. I know what you want to hear. Operators are waiting.
I just got to hear don't get the COVID.
Don't get the COVID. Put your mask back on. The Delta COVID, more contagious than before. Don't get the COVID. Go on and get the vaccine. You know that it can keep you safe. And your people living up in your space. Don't get the COVID. You need to wash your hands. The Delta COVID is more deadly than before. Don't get the COVID. Go on and get your vaccine. You know that it can keep you from dying. Don't leave your family all alone and crying. Don't get the COVID.
We invite you to join our fight against COVID and against misinformation. It's time to listen to the doctors and trust the science.
When I think of people dying that don't have to die, it makes me sad. Now's the time to be sober. Together we can make this thing over. Let's fight the COVID. Convenient urgent care, home of the smart patient.
Shout out to Convenient Urgent Care. Listen, I was on this space beginning to get into a little bit of a role talking about our politics. One of the greatest conversations I had, I'd say in maybe the last 10 years, I had a conversation with Dick Gregory, and it was actually in between shows at a place called the Riot Act. It's no longer there in DC, a comedy club. And he came down, and I did a joke about political parties. The joke was there's too many political parties. So you got the Democratic Party, you have the Republican Party, as if for self-hating. You have the Tea Party, and so for self-hating Black Republicans, you have the Sweet Tea Party. That was the joke. It went over really, really well. I walk off stage, and Mr. Gregory, him being him, hemmed me up in the corner and asked me, what did I mean by the Sweet Tea Party? And I told him that, this was kind of like, an acronym. If you could trick Black folk into a party, sweet tea would be a party. Okay, this is where he started to cut my neck, and this is where he ended. And the reason he said that, he said, because you are a grown man, he said, making a joke about the dysfunctionality of Black folk to have their own political identity. And I said, well, sir, I didn't mean it to be that way. I said, but let me shut up and listen. He said, Black folk have been fearful of the fact that their political might could actually, God forbid, improve their condition in the United States. He said that we are addicted to the lies of mainstream political parties. He said, and if we could put ourselves in a position, here's what he said, if we could put ourselves in a position whereby we can be steadfast in the political party that we develop that is inclusive of our own candidates in our own spaces, creating our own money, creating our own political action committees that are not specified just for political candidates, but political action committees that look at education, that look at job training, that look at the correctional system, that look at the ability to put people in place in society, give them value, understanding that society, if you will look at them and say, these are people of value, and they will supersede all the other BS that normally happens. That they don't take ownership for Black excellence, that they don't take ownership for Black initiatives. He said, but we own the patent on Black excellence. And he said, this is not a foreign issue. This is not new. He said, this is what Malcolm X died for. He said, you can say all the things that you may want to say in regards to the assassination of Malcolm X. He said, but there were a lot of scared Negroes who could not take the trip with him. He said, and therein lies the problem. We got some comments. Let's go ahead and get them in. Mark, we need to be strategic and intentional to keep what we Dems have and increase the numbers in the House and Senate. I agree. We need to keep our African-American agenda top 3 to 5 concerns in front of the politicians constantly and pass the bills and get the president to sign them. It may take longer than we want, but we need to stay in the streets, communicate our message, vote, and hold politicians accountable. Mark, can we have our own party? Can Black folk have a legitimate political action committee that's not necessarily tied to the Democrats or the Republicans? but has a wellspring where we can dictate what we want to these particular parties. Think about that. Next comment. Okay, Sister Rabina, the reason I say create a separate African American agenda is because unfortunately the two other parties always expect to support African Americans, yet African American concerns are always at the bottom of the list, proven time and time again. The problem regarding voting process is because they don't want to be part of the process or the outcome. Time to disregard the government and create community infrastructures to improve things on the community level first, because um, that is where I guess we ran out of words there. Okay. But I get that. I get that. Mark says, what are those 3 to 5 concerns? Yes, we can have our own party. Absolutely. We do that. We do have to come up with the 3 to 5 concerns. So, I mean, and this is not new. This is not like some separatist thing. You know, one of the things I always regret is the idea of when the Nation of Islam was out and they talked about separating from white people. They were really talking about separating from white infrastructure, which was white supremacy. And we weren't adept enough to understand just how deep that model ran. But I've said it before, if you are in a situation, a scenario where you are around unhealthy people, unhealthy actions, unhealthy environment, it is intelligence to walk away and go, I can't be a part of that. And in the political sphere, we have to also look at that. We have to also look at some of the laws that are being put out. Ron DeSantis has no legitimacy out of Florida, meaning that in Florida, he's created an environment that's going to support these crazy ideas, what he's trying to do with Disney and things like that. But that's a very, very local agenda. But if we're not careful, that will become a national agenda. He will, in some regards, out-Trump Trump, if you will. He will out-Trump Trump. And when you get into these races, if you will, of, I want to say lunacy, things that are just absolutely ludicrous, and people put them in front of folks who are afraid to say that this doesn't make any sense, who are afraid to say that this agenda has absolutely no bearing on my well-being or my neighbor or my family. It has no crux to say that there's a pathway forward for progress. Yet we will spend time and time again trying to work through this. We are in a space, and anybody can jump in. We're in a space now where, in terms of solid political action, solid political ideas, you're in a marketplace of bad ideas. That bad ideas populate the marketplace. So by the time you may get to the front of the line, there's no one there in line anyway. It's the end. There's no reward. So where do we, if you will, and I won't put this on Sister Tana because she's still eating out there. But at one point in time, when do we just pull back and go, you know what? No. And in this space, we say yes, but we understand we're saying yes, and there's a unified idea for we're saying no to these ideas. Think about it, brothers and sisters. They gave us Juneteenth as a federal holiday. That tells you they don't think much about you. All right, so we're going to get out of here. We got a little song we're going to roll out. This is our last day of Eid. Eid Mubarak again to everybody. Just kind of think about some of the things we talked about. We're easing back. We're trying to be a community magazine. We're going to talk about some social issues, but we're going to have some laughs too, because some of this stuff is nuts. As Mark said, first we need to protect voting rights. I've been saying that for quite a long time. George Bush defeated Al Gore, and it wasn't because of dimple chads. It's because they purged the voting rolls for a lot of inmates who were actually qualified to vote. All right, Tana, we're out of here. Go ahead and make that happen. Everybody take care. I'm sorry. She's saying something to me. I can't even hear her. I apologize. But listen, this is foundational to democracy. Absolutely. So listen, we're gonna bounce. First, protect our voting rights, then protect everything else. Mark is on point, but Mark, we got to figure out how to do that. And you know what else we else to do? We can't tell everybody. We can't tell everybody what we're doing. We just need to do it and let it be a surprise. All right. Sadana, don't even worry about the video. We're just going to wrap. We're right at the 30-minute mark. Listen, I appreciate everybody for tuning in to the show. We will see you tomorrow, inshallah. I'm Preacher Mars. This Shout Out Show featuring Sadana Whitfield. Take care of yourself. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. See you tomorrow.